My best friend died last year this week. His wife revealed she'd been reading our private messages and had blocked me from his funeral. I met Eric in 6th grade when we were both the new kids at school for 23 years. We shared every milestone, college roommates, best man at each other's weddings, godfather to his daughter Lily. When he was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer at 34, I was the first person he called during his final months. I couldn't always be there physically. I lived 3 states away, but we texted constantly. Late-night conversations about mortality, regrets, his fears about leaving his wife Sarah and Lily behind, things he couldn't bring himself to say to them because he wanted to stay strong. Promise me you'll check on them, he texted one night at 3 a.m. Not just right after years from now. Make sure Lily remembers who I was. I promise, I replied, but you need to promise to haunt me if death here is an afterlife. Deal, he wrote back. I'll knock over your coffee every morning just to annoy you. When I didn't hear from him for 2 days, I called Sarah. She told me he'd been hospitalized. His organs were failing. I am getting on the plane, I said. Tell him to hold on. Don't, she replied flatly. He's heavily medicated. He wouldn't know you were here. It felt wrong, but I respected her wishes. Eric died the next morning. Sarah sent a brief text. He's gone, keen general details soon. But those details never came. My calls went to voicemail. My messages were marked, read, but never answered. I found out about the funeral through a mutual friend 3 days after it happened. I was devastated, confused. Kimmer, had she blamed me for not being there at the end, for living far away? A year passed. I still sent birthday gifts to Lily, still checked in with Sarah every few months, or as brief formal responses. Then yesterday a message from Sarah appeared. I need to get this off my chest during Eric's last week. I used his phone while he was sleeping. I read your conversations, all of them. My stomach dropped. Those messages were our private sanctuary. Eric had shared fears and regrets he couldn't voice elsewhere. I read how he worried I wasn't strong enough to raise Lily alone, her message continued. How he wished he'd married someone more independent. How sometimes he felt trapped by our life. My hand shook. Those weren't his exact words. Context was missing. Moments of pain and medication talking, not his true feelings. I blocked your number from his phone. I deleted your messages. I told the hospital not to allow you to visit. And yes, I deliberately didn't tell you about the funeral. I stared at my phone, unable to process what I was reading. I wanted to hate you for knowing parts of my husband I never did. But after a year of therapy, I understand he needed someone who wasn't falling apart. That wasn't going to be me. Our final message. Lily asks about you. Her memories are fading. If you meant what you promised him, we're having dinner at his favorite restaurant on his birthday next month. I sat in my car outside my office for an hour, unable to move. Eric's voice echoed in my head. Promise me you'll check on them. Some promises transcend betrayal. Some duties outlive hurt. I texted back one word. When the hardest visits are the ones we make, not for ourselves, but for those who can no longer ask.